I've been saying this for years now. The moment mobile games mastered monetizing our fear of missing out, console gaming was destined to follow in its footsteps. Where once you could simply purchase a game, own it, and play it as much as you want, we now live in a time where the games you buy are actually temporary, open-ended license leases, and it never is in your favor. Mobile games have f***ed up your console games, and it's only going to get worse. I'm late to the gamer. Please hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell because we're so close to that magical 1,000 subscriber number. Whether you own a digital or physical copy of a game, in most cases, you're required to reconfirm ownership of the license on a regular basis via internet connection. While always being online to play your game may seem like a minor inconvenience, this fundamentally changes how your games are monetized now. Instead of the purchase relationship ending at the transfer of money, it is far more beneficial for developers to have constant contact so they can alter and remove components of your game, monetize your time, compile data of your habits, and in some cases, sell that information. Games even have advertisements inserted into them. I'm looking at you, nearly every goddamn sports game released in the last 5 years. If you purchased a physical copy of Destiny 2 when it released in 2017, and then spent another $80 on the first 3 DLC packages, none of that content is available to you now. You merely leased it. It doesn't matter if you bought the game. Once it became free to play, your lease was up. Bungie says that particular game doesn't exist anymore. But thanks for your purchase, and for more Destiny 2 content, buy these new DLCs for $95 and provide us with $20 every season. Gone are the days of being sure of what you buy is what you'll have.
It's mine because I bought it.
Over the last 5 years, multiple games have been sold for $60, then promptly closed up shop within a year or two, cutting off the content completely. There was no plan to keep these games alive. Poor servers, terrible anti-cheat, and the obvious lack of quality assurance or playtesting are the signs that the goal is to take your money and run. I guarantee, People Can Fly's Outriders World Slayer DLC was never intended to be created when the original game was released back in 2021, for the reasons I mentioned a few seconds ago. On the other side, you have Rockstar Games, steadily milking the same game through the span of 3 console eras because they make more money on microtransactions than creating an entirely new IP. The goal for the vast majority of developers and studios isn't to satisfy the customer by creating an IP so profoundly amazing that people spend money hand over fist to buy their game. It's to procure a niche audience that will subsidize the studio with a game created as cheaply as possible. It's why die-hard Destiny 2 players tend to lash out at people that point out that they purchased a game they can no longer play anymore. The money has already been exchanged and you're no longer needed. The game is funded by the superfans, and there's no room for newbies without paying the troll toll. The most successful mobile franchises live and die by this mantra. They recycle the same game under different titles and skins because it works. When the mobile gaming company Machine Zone hit pay dirt with Game of War, they were so profitable that Tig Old Biddy, Kate Upton in her prime, and All I Want for Christmas Carrie dressed up as Athena to be spokeswomen. Since then, they've made the same game 3 more times. The game makes the majority of their money through microtransactions that start at $5 but quickly inflate to a minimum investment of at least $50 per pack. Fortnite's explosion in popularity made cosmetic loot boxes at a reasonable rate a console standard, but boundaries have to be pushed in the console industry. Loot boxes for skins, season passes, content DLC, and virtual currency are synonymous with several franchises now. They're feeding off our fear of missing out. If you stop playing the game that you invested extra money and weeks of your life into, what are you missing out on? Well, you can find out in the special $20 welcome back pack of loot boxes. Popular console games are often emulated ad nauseum. When early Assassin's Creed games got recognition, we were inundated with open world game after open world game, tasking us with collecting hundreds of collectibles. Even some of the most technologically impressive games adopted the AC strategy. The Batman Arkham series has 923 Riddler trophies between 3 games, and the one that isn't critically acclaimed, Arkham Origins, only had 1. Over time, the Assassin's Creed formula got stale, and only completionists were tempted to get every last useless collectible that extended their gameplay. Playtime increased, which in turn made the pitch for their next game easier. But the bottom line still remained unchanged. To make a profit, they had to continuously pump out game after game in new areas with slightly different gameplay mechanics and the same basic world loop until they juiced all of their goodwill. That structure is antithetical to maximizing the profit margins. Some developers started to outright put ads in their games you already bought, simply because they could. I was utterly astounded when the NBA 2K series added unskippable ads to their games. That made me quit playing the series altogether. I pay extra to not see ads, not the other way around. Over the next few years, the influence of mobile gaming on consoles is only going to get worse. Microsoft is purchasing and consolidating developers. Sony is using as many anti-consumer tactics as possible. This is a far cry from when these systems were the underdogs taking on Nintendo. Nintendo used to have a stranglehold on the gaming industry. They could blacklist developers and studios, cut their profits, and sell $80 cartridge games without so much as a peep from anyone. PlayStation undercut their game prices by nearly half. In 1996, the average PlayStation game was between $35 and $45 versus the $75 Super Nintendo game. When the PS2 hit the market, games were $50. Now we're spending $60 to $70 on games that require internet connectivity to check licenses, monthly service through the console to play online, season passes, and annual DLC, not to mention their own microtransactions. This model is unsustainable in the long run. Mobile phones have many uses your console doesn't, and they come with data plans, so losing another $20 on a loot box isn't such a big deal. But with consoles ranging between $300 and $600, your necessary ISP bill, fees for online console services like Xbox Gold and PlayStation Network, the games you buy, their season passes, their DLC, asking for $20 in virtual currency is a big deal, and it should be a big deal. In the end, great story-driven single-player games will come fewer and far between. Without DLC, multiplayer, and loot boxes, they're eventually going to become a thing of the past. The profit margin on those games aren't as appealing to studios. This is why there are 15 remasters of Skyrim, why the most recent Last of Us remaster cost $70, and why there's been a sudden overabundance of single-player platformers that range between $30 and $40. With the state of console games following the mobile strategy, you should expect AAA single-player games to take longer to release with a higher price. Multiplayer games will either adopt the free-to-play model with paid seasons used to gatekeep items and virtual currency, or yearly releases with minor roster changes, unskippable ads, microtransactions, and the highest price they can get away with charging. The future is looking bleak, but I'm just some guy on the internet. What do I know? I'm Late to the Gamer. This was Game Breaking News. Please hit that like button, subscribe, ring the bell, and have a great day.